So my site got hit. Not massively, but enough to make me wince when I looked at my rankings and traffic drops. Now, did I do the usual thing and blame Google for my woes? Well, actually, no, not this time. You see, I decided to take a cold hard look at my website, and to be perfectly honest, I wasn't really inspired by what I saw. In fact, there were quite a few things that in the back of my head I knew I'd been neglecting. And this was the wake-up call that I needed. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 big mistakes that I was making with my sites, and to be honest, they're all fixable and they're all preventable too. So if you don't want Big G to slap down your sites if you're making any of these mistakes, then carry on watching. So the first one is what I'm going to call backlinks part 1. And this was having too many backlinks from non-linked to pages. Or in other words, links from web pages that had no referring domains linking to that particular page. And in some cases, no internal links either, which just made the problem a whole lot worse. So the first thing I needed to do was to identify the issue, and to do this I would just go into Ahrefs, type in my domain name and look at my most powerful links. Now some of these links that I thought were super powerful, they might have been coming from high DR sites and sites that were highly relevant, but they had no links going to them at all, or no links going to these specific pages. So what can we do about this? Well, we could start a tier 2 link building campaign where we build links to these particular pages and power them up. That was step 1. So the second thing I can do is to mix up how I get these backlinks in the first place. So rather than just creating lots of very non-authoritative guest posts with no links, we could look for link insertions from websites and web pages specifically that have lots of links going into them. The second issue I had is what I'm going to call backlinks part 2. And that's because this issue still revolves around backlinks, but is slightly different. And that's because I had lots of backlinks from very relevant sites, but I had very little authority. So I had the relevance, and that was clearly there, but I didn't have any super high authority backlinks. Now, these type of backlinks are ideal for your branded type links. So in other words, links with the anchor text of your brand name or website name, or even just a naked URL. So Harrow and digital PR campaigns are perfect for attracting these types of links. And in my case, I just hadn't got enough of these. And so the relevance was there, but the authority wasn't there to back it up. Then the third one was a pretty bitter pill that I had to swallow. And I'm going to call this content part 1. And the reason this is a difficult pill to swallow is because I had to look at the content and realize that the content just wasn't good enough. Now, we often get quite emotionally attached to our sites and to the content that we create, and a lot of this content was created by myself when I first set up the site. Even some of the more recent content, I have to look at it and be completely honest and say, it probably isn't good enough. Even though I was using dedicated writers who had experience in the niche, I think there was still some way to go. And if we compare it to the competition, particularly the more powerful and stronger competition, I have to be honest and say it just wasn't strong enough. So that leads us on to content part 2. And this, in a way, is linked to part 1, but it's actually even worse because I'd got content on one site in particular where the content on certain pages had not been updated since 2018. Let's just have a reality check. It's now 2023. So that's 5 years of potentially pretty outdated content. And some of these were commercial, affiliate type pages, affiliate type content. And they've just not been updated. So not only was the content poor, but it was also out of date. So of course the remedy here is going to be to go through that content and actually complete a content audit for the entire site, and to go through and update those posts and improve them and make them better. And the last mistake I was making was around my authors, and particularly not having enough transparency around who the authors were, who was writing which pieces of content, links to their social profiles, and actually having in-depth author bios on the site itself. Now I had this to an extent, but it just didn't go far enough. And certainly on individual posts, it wasn't clear who was writing which post, why they were writing it, why they had the expertise for it, and so on. So essentially I was sleepwalking through EEAT, or just kind of not doing enough of it in the first place. Now, whether this really did contribute to the site getting hit, I don't know 100%, but it certainly wouldn't have helped. And it's quite an easy fix because, like I say, I am actually using real life writers for this site who are quite happy for me to cite them and link to their socials and all that sort of stuff. So that again is something I'm going to need to go through and update on this site. Now, whether these 5 things seem pretty complex or pretty simple to you, the point is I really genuinely do think they all matter. And whether the site got hit once or got hit twice in those updates during December, I won't know for sure, but it definitely did get hit, as many sites did. I have already started to see the site bounce back a little since January, which is great to see. And I'll obviously continue to make those changes that I've talked about in this video to see that, hopefully see that year-on-year growth that we have seen over the last couple of years. Now, of course, the other thing I'll be doing is following my own advice on creating the perfect content, and I've got a video on that here, so I'm going to go back and watch that now and make sure that I'm applying those principles to this site in question. Guys, thanks very much for watching and good luck with your own projects.